think we're live. I think we're live. There's always that awkward dance. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining me. I am the Anthea Cutler, your mindset coach for women in business. And today we are chatting to the fabulous Tash Corbin. Anyone who knows me and knows my business will know that Tash has been my business coach for a number of years. I'm in her beautiful takeoff program. I have previously bought her planners and I have been on retreat with her twice. Not able to do it this year, #COVID, but I'm sure I'll hook up with you next year. So Tash, I know you're a business coach. I know all of your stuff, but can you give us an intro?
Yes, I can. Thank you. So I specialize in helping women entrepreneurs in particular to grow their businesses and scale them online. I love teaching marketing and sales strategy, especially the stuff that doesn't involve fear-based marketing tactics or things that pretend to be NLP, but they're not, but they're just really dodgy sales tactics or traumatizing people through sales, those types of things. I'm really about empowering your audience in your sales process and helping them make a decision about what is the right fit for them, not what you would prefer, which is for everyone to buy.
And I love that so much. And I remember joining your group a couple of years ago and then finding your videos. And I feel like you have such a different approach to business that resonates with women so much. So, thank you for being a leader in this field.
Thank you. Thank you.
So good. So good. So, I mean, we can go anywhere with this one, but let's start with, I was thinking maybe, because I'm a launch specialist mindset coach and you're a business coach who knows a lot about launching, can we get your take on launching?
Yeah, for sure.
Just generally.
So I would actually say like the best demonstration of my take on launching is actually my most recent launch, which was of my Takeoff program. And in Takeoff, I help people starting a business. So it's not necessarily in that launching stage, leveraging stage. It's more in the startup phase. But that launch of the Takeoff program had an average of 4.9% conversion rate. I sent, sorry, I just dropped a bunch of stuff off my desk. #human. So it had a really high conversion rate. I did 0 Facebook ad spend, not a cent for 3 months. So not even just not in the launch, not for the 2 months before the launch did I have any ad spend in that. And in my launch lead magnets, I had 2 lead magnets. I ran a webinar and I ran a 5-day challenge. The webinar had 3 follow-up emails and the 5-day challenge had 4 follow-up emails. And that was it. I didn't do the 17 emails before it closes. I didn't do anything like that. And it was a $94,000 launch of the Takeoff program. So I love launching that is really strategic, really empowering and high conversion without resorting to pressure or those big fear-based tactics. I had a lady yesterday in my group, which most people who know me will know about my group, but in my group yesterday was shout out day. And I had a lady and she had done my 5-day challenge in the Takeoff launch. And she had done another 5-day challenge last week with someone else. And she did this share and she said, we forget how good we have it with Tash, with her free content sometimes, because I just went and did this other 5-day challenge and it was mostly just upsell and sales pitch. The 5th day had no content except for telling me about the paid product or service. And so, I think the other thing that I think is different about the way that I launch is that I am unafraid to give free value. There's none of this like, no one's going to buy the cow if you give them the milk for free or any other rando like phrasing or anything like that. I show up and I give with my heart and I am not afraid to share insights or answer people's questions or give too much information because that's how I show up. And I love that I get to launch from a mindset of abundance instead of a fear. If I give away too much information, no one's going to buy from me. that's not living. That's not business. That's not how I want to show up in the world. So that's not what I do. I have a very high value proposition with my free content. And it means I have a very loyal, very amazing audience, and I have really high conversion rates. So that's my launching in a nutshell.
And I think when I watch people who are new to your audience, by the way, Tash's group is called the Heart-Centered Soul-Driven Entrepreneurs Group. Feel free to plug anything you want here, Tash.
Thank you.
But I think that's why, like, people are surprised when they find you and you've got all of these people who are already part of your programs and all your paid offerings, like, still ready to participate. And it's almost like people think that you've paid them to be there, but actually you just know that we're going to learn the next thing or the next whatever.
I have to say over and over again on things like, I didn't tell the Takeoff ladies to come to this and plug my program. I didn't pay anyone to be here commenting on these things, because it does sometimes feel really odd, but I do love that, right? My free content is so valuable that people who've invested to work with me still sign up to my free stuff and still come and actively participate, because then they know they're going to get so much value out of it. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And
I know, and I feel like you're leading the way in this area. Like, when I think about it, I don't think I follow anyone else that I sign up to every single one of their things. Like, you'll do a webinar on a topic that I have done with you for 2 years in a row in your paid programs, and I'll go back and watch it even if I can't be there on the live, or I'll listen to it in the car. So it's super cool. And sometimes we need to hear things like 500,000 times.
That's what I was just about to say, that the foundations of business and marketing are so consistent, and we need to hear things a few different ways. And also, because I'm so hyper present in my launches, it's not a pre-recorded webinar, it's not pre-recorded anything. I'm actually there talking to real life people. If Anthea comes along and says, oh, but I was thinking about this, and what if that, how does that fit my business? I know your business, and I'm happy to talk about your business and answer your specific questions and how it applies to you, knowing that there's going to be everyone else in my audience really excited to hear that answer as well, because we're all in this together and we all have something that we can learn from each other's experiences. So it's a super fun way.
It's not like you go back and you pretend that I'm this new person watching and give me the newbie's answer. None of that. Thank you. None of that. And I like that, like, you describe your challenge and your webinar as, you know, you only did the handful of follow-up emails. You didn't need to do the 21,000.
Do you know, I was in someone else's launch a few weeks ago and I got 4 emails that said, this is the final email. 4 emails. All 4 of them said, this is the final email. That is not building a relationship on a strong foundation, because we see these things, right? So if I can't trust you when you say this is definitely the last email to not send me another email about your stinking launch, then how can I trust that what you say you're going to teach me inside that program is actually in there? How can I trust that there's not going to be another upsell? As soon as I click buy, you're going to go, well, if you really want the outcome, you have to buy this other thing, which is twice the price. Because we see so many of these behaviors in the online business world. I got sucked into it again. There was this awesome sounding thing. It was a yoga thing, right? And it was like 21 yoga videos. And it was something like $17 or whatever. I thought that would be really cool to mix things up. And I had to click, no thanks, I don't want to maximize my results 6 times. 6 times after paying this woman $17. I had to read through an upsell for something else that was going to maximize my results. And then I had to click, literally the button said, no, I don't want to maximize my results. So I've paid you $17 to have you make me say 6 times, I don't really want the outcome. I don't really want the outcome. I don't really want, when that's not true. I do want to maximize my results, but I want to try your $17 thing before I buy the $70 thing or the $700 thing or the $7,500 thing, which was the final offer.
Yeah, but they don't give you an option for that.
Oh my gosh. And I was just like, does this crap actually work? Sorry, little ears, but it makes me so cranky that this is the stuff that's being taught. And it's no wonder so many women find my strategies like an oasis, because we don't want to be treated this way, and we don't want to treat other people this way. And so for so many people, they buy a course or a program, or they try and learn launching from someone, and then they get halfway through the process and they're told they have to dial up people's fear, dial up their pain points, do this aggressive upsell strategy, trick people into signing up to something, and then trick them into the next thing. And then they think, well, I don't really want to do that. So they half do what they've been taught, and they get nowhere near the results that they've been promised. But it's very easy for the provider to say, well, you didn't do the whole thing, so that's why you didn't get the results. So a lot of these types of very aggressive launch strategies are sold as an all or nothing. You must do it exactly the right way, with exactly the right sequence, with exactly the 27 emails, with exactly this many upsell offers and all of those sorts of things in order to get the results. And for most people, they don't want to do all of it. So their results end up being way, way lower. And then you make it all about you. Well, it must be something that's wrong with me because I'm just not willing to do that to people. And I don't like it. I don't like it.
And I just no sorries. Like, I love hearing your ranty. We call you ranty Tash when she gets with everybody. But I just love how customized your approach is and how it's all based on connection. Because I know that through one of my launches, I had this problem that I came to you, and the way that we were talking about it on one of the group calls was have the sales conversation after the free session or whatever I was doing. It was it was a little while back. And then I was like, but I don't want to do it after I've hypnotized them. And so then we came up with a alternate strategy. And how many hypnotists out there go on to sell to people once they've just hypnotized them?
Yeah. And I mean, this is a giant, let's just pump up each other's tires right now, right? Like, not only are you someone who is deep enough in integrity to recognize that selling to someone whilst they're under the influence of hypnosis is not a smart strategy, and it's not the way that you want to show up and sell in the world, I'm an amazing strategist who can help you come up with an alternative. So, I think it's both of those things. It's not just the connection in the delivery part of it and being able to build a strategy that can work for the specifics of your strengths and your business and your model and all those sorts of things. It's also a deep alignment that we want to be deep in integrity when we are engaging, not only in the delivery of our services, but also the way that we sell and market it. Yeah.
And guess what? It's more connecting to my audience, because I say, we're not going to do the sales pitch now. We're not going to chat about my services now. I'm going to do the follow-up call in a week's time, because I don't want this hypnosis experience to taint whether you're going to buy or not.
And how amazing is that for people? Often when I'm launching something, I will be explaining to people why I'm doing something or why I'm not doing something. And it's so refreshing. It's like, oh, I see. And that was one of the beautiful things of my 5-day challenge that I ran recently, because I was saying to people things like, here's how we do our follow-up structure. And I was teaching people how to do like a short personal email called a spear email. And then I sent out my spear email in the launch, and I got like 35 replies from people going, is this your spear email? I was like, yes, it is. Congratulations. So we can start to see the strategy, and we can be open about it. Like, I'm not someone who's going to, I know there are coaches out there who will say, for example, invite people to send you a private message, slide into your DMs, and then just get your team to reply as you. I am so not about that, right? So if my team reply, they say their name and Team Tash, or Team Tash as a minimum. if I reply, I say Tash. So people know that they can trust if they get a reply and it says from Tash, that it's actually from me. Like even that, I'm not into like just, oh yeah, just copy paste this and pretend that you me. For me, I want to be deep in integrity when I'm selling as well as when I'm delivering. And
what happens in the next like group call or webinar when someone mentions that conversation you had and you're like,
I know, right?
I don't even know what that is. Like how uncomfortable.
And particularly like when I'm launching the takeoff program, for example, like I want to know who's in there. So I do have those conversations with people in the sales process so that when they do join, I can say, oh my gosh, I remember we spoke on Instagram and you were talking about this. Let's jump in and get started on it. That level of connection.
Even the awkward conversation of that's right. Sorry, I forgot your name. Like even that.
I remember. Yeah. And it's a really beautiful thing. So, and it means that I don't have to pretend anything in my sales pitch or in my launches as well, because I know that I've joined someone's like launching program and, wanted to learn how to launch on Instagram. And inside the course, they're telling me all these secret automations and things that they've done. And they got their team to reply to that email and then I was like, hang on a minute. When I bought your program, I thought I was talking to you, and now I'm inside the program. Here you are telling me that I wasn't talking to you, and I kind of feel like I've been misled here. And it just creates this like sense of like mistrust. Like, how can I trust this now? I just it's like the most subtle but discombobulating gaslighting. Like you ask, I even have had times where I've asked someone on Messenger, like, is this actually you? And they've said yes. And then I've discovered later it wasn't. And I was like, I specifically asked. It's awful.
And I've even like the deep connection stuff with you just goes as far as like I've had, in the takeoff program, like it's not unusual for us to all buy off each other.
Yeah.
And so some of my follow-up emails in the past have been like, hey, as part of the strategy that we're currently doing with Tash, I am now following up with you. And they're like, hey, cool. Like it's like calling it out. And
you can be transparent about why you're doing something. It doesn't make you like less professional. It doesn't make people less likely to buy from you. It makes people more likely to buy from you. And I even have people who I've given full permission to say, like I had someone who came back to me and said that someone wanted to get their old prices for a program. And they literally said, I'm really sorry, but Tash will kick my butt if I give you a discount. So I have to charge you the price. Like that is totally fine too. Like you're allowed to say that your coach told you. I'm fine with that.
They probably know who you are because we're in the same community.
So it is a beautiful thing. Yeah.
The other thing that I love about you and your movement and teaching everyone all of these connection-based strategies is how apparent it is when people aren't using these strategies. Like I was late night, got stuck into a webinar, free training. They probably told me it was live, but it wasn't. I don't know. But it was on something I was really interested about. It was a hormonal thing. The guy really sounded like he knew what he was talking about it. But it reminded me of that ad that like was like, but wait, there's more. You remember that knives ad? And I just couldn't.
From Demtel.
I just couldn't keep watching. And yet the actual thing that he was selling, I was actually interested in, but because of these like weird tactics to keep me on the call and to get me fatigued and to whatever, I just was like, no.
Yeah. And you can even notice it when people at the start of a webinar are like, give me a heck yes in the comments if blah, 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 blah. And that because they want to get 4 yeses out of you before they ever present anything that you have to buy. And it's just, like I feel like we've graduated from that kind of selling now. And I hope that people really do embrace just showing up in a way, treating other people that they want to be treated, and showing up in a way that's really genuine, because it does work. It absolutely works. I
And it makes your
love
life,
connected launches.
yeah, and it makes your life so much easier. Like I found that through all of this stuff that you have taught me, it's like I just get to be myself in those conversations. I don't have to worry about some formula or some whatever.
Yeah.
So it's definitely makes life easier. Cool. So I have to ask you about mindset. What do you think are the most important things with regards to mindset in your launches, like from your experience?
Yeah. So number one is notice how you feel. It's very easy for me to fall back into the pattern of thinking it needs to be hard and serious. And so I really pay attention to how I'm feeling when I'm launching. And I embrace, and I know that you are a big advocate of this as well, I embrace like making it the most funnest, easiest, laziest launch I could possibly imagine. And that perspective, that shift of, well, if I could choose $200,000 launch, but it's serious and you hate it and you're burnt out at the end and it's 6 weeks of hell, or $100,000 launch and you get to have massages and fun and skipping along the beach and you only have to work an hour a day, I know which one I would choose. The beautiful thing is that actually it's always in reverse for me. The bigger the launch, the less time I have spent in it, the more fun I have had. And today I had a very perfect example of that. I'm launching a planner at the moment, another cheeky plug there. And it's launching
it's amazing.
It's amazing. And it's launching on Kickstarter. And I'd set a goal of the Kickstarter hitting the 10K goal within the first 2 days. And I was off having a massage this morning, got back, sitting on the couch, turned my phone on. I was like, my Kickstarter's tipped in 18 hours whilst I was off getting a massage. I didn't sit there watching the numbers and clicking it over. And actually, when I launched it yesterday afternoon, it was right after the netball semifinals, big netball fan here. And I said to Davey, I've just launched the Kickstarter. We need to put a movie on and I need to put my phone away because I'm not going to make more sales by sitting there watching them. So, I think that that's probably my number one thing for mindset for launching is you are the boss of this launch and you get to determine, is this going to be fun and exciting and an adventure, or is this going to be hard and you're constantly battling and you have to be up for 20 hours a day and you're going to be burnt out at the end of it and all of those sorts of things. I see so many people who say they have to take a holiday between the end of their launch and the start of their program because the launch is so overwhelming and so hard and so much burnout. I'm like, don't stick a holiday in there. Make your launch the holiday. Like instead of feeling like you need to take they say, don't book lots of holidays, just build a life that you never want to have to take a holiday from. Build a launch that you never want to take a holiday from, that you never need to take a holiday from. Because for me, being in launch is pretty much business as usual.
Yeah.
And in most cases, it's probably business as usual with more massages, more long walks on the beach, more conversations with Davey, and more fun and dancing around the living room, because I am proactively avoiding the sitting at my desk worrying about my launch state, right? And so when I'm not launching, I can sit at my desk and not worry about my launch and, just play with things and look at crazy cat videos and all those sorts of things. But when I'm launching, my default, if I'm sitting at my desk, is, okay, how's the launch going? What can I do for the launch? Launch. So instead of having that temptation whilst I'm sitting at my desk, I actively pursue things outside of the home. And that feels so good. And it makes such a difference. So that would be number one, is easy, lazy, fun. You're the boss. Like, let's not make this harder than it has to be.
Yeah.
And then I think the second one is, for me, my launch mindset is really supported by having a really good plan and doing as much as I can in advance. There are things that you need to do live in your launches. Like I run my webinars live. I run my challenge live. I do Facebook lives, those sorts of things. But the other stuff that we often leave till last, that's a self-sabotage. I can pre-write my emails and then just tidy and tweak and send as I go. or schedule up some and leave some to go live. So my last launch, I think we had 3 emails that weren't scheduled up, and they were pre-written though in draft form sitting there because they had things in it like, oh, that was such a fun we covered XYZ, and I wasn't 100% sure it was going to be fun. So, I just want to make sure I've got those sorts of things clear before I send those. But I pre-did so much of that launch, and that meant that when I did go off, dancing along the beach with Munchkin, getting my feet wet, I could really be present to that experience instead of worrying, what is it that I need to do when I get home?
So it almost allows you to have the fun, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So the structure and the preparation gives me the freedom during the launch period. And I can tell you with 100% clarity that writing a sales email when you are trying to get the sale is 10 times harder than writing a sales email 6 weeks in advance when there's no pressure and you're thinking about what fun the launch is going to be and you're getting excited about the launch. You're in a completely different headspace. You're in a completely different energy. And I think that is actually the best time to be writing those things. That is the best time to be planning and preparing and scheduling things out and getting those words together, because it's unpressured and it feels like, I feel like really virtuous when I'm pre-writing things for my launch. So it feels really good to do it at that point in time. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I love both of those tips. So good. And what about support? Because I know that you don't do these launches all by yourself.
Yeah. For me, I've got to the point now where I've got a really refined, really lean team, but it's a really brilliant team and I freaking love them so, so much. I would say the biggest mindset thing I see people have about, there's 2 things. Number 1 about delegation is it's easier and faster for me to do it myself. And then the second one is I've been burnt before, so it will never work again. And both of those are actually mindset issues. That's not a problem. There's not a delegation issue. When I talk to people about their previous experiences with team members not working out, the first question I ask is, what SOPs did you give them? What checklist did they have? How did you equip that person to succeed? And 9 times out of 10, that someone's just handed over a tangled mess and gone, can you fix this? And that person hasn't had your decision-making skills. That person doesn't have your understanding of your business. They don't have an understanding of what your goals are or what the specifics are of how you want to show up. And they do their absolute freaking best to untangle it and try and show up and do a good job for you. But you haven't equipped them with what they need. You haven't been prepared to delegate effectively. And even if you have had those checklists and SOPs, which no one ever has, by the way, whenever I ask that question, but even if you did have them, you handed it over with this level of micromanagement in the back of your mind because you want them to do it exactly the same way as you do it. And you want them to do, it exactly perfectly. And you're not allowing that person to actually find their groove and find their flow. So like being a good people manager is a skill and it takes practice. And it also takes an attention on your mindset as well. And it's also one of the biggest leverage points to getting beyond 6 figures, multiple 6 figures into 7 figures in your business. Every $1 million business owner that I have ever asked the question, like, what was the big tipping point for you, has said team. That was their tipping point. Team, team, team. And so you can continue to hold on to that belief that no one does it as good as you. It's quicker if you do it yourself. People burn you. VAs are no good. You're just going to get ripped off. You can continue to hold on to those beliefs and stay where you are, or you can make a decision. Team is my next leverage point. How do I figure this out? Not will I ever figure this out, or, it's not for me, but like, okay, this is a problem I need to solve. I'm going to go and solve it. And for me, solving it looked like a multitude of different layers. I had to be as tenacious with sorting out my team stuff as I was with sorting out my launch stuff. I had to be as tenacious with sorting out team management and SOPs and hiring the right people and managing them effectively as I was with finding my core message and developing my best program and how to price that program. It's just as critical. And so for me, I knew that team was my big thing to get to the $1 million mark in my business. I'm still not quite there, but I feel so
close.
But I feel so equipped to get there and beyond because I've been tenacious with team stuff. And so I have had, in the last 4 years, I've had 4 systems experts all have a go at my business. And each of them has added and got rid of messy stuff and added another layer of awesomeness to the way that my business is systemized. And then they've, like, someone's come to a point where, you know, I've done what I can. I don't know if I'm the next person to take to the next level, and we've brought in someone else. And now the manager that I have in my business is not a systems manager, they're a people manager. So I've had to grow from having systems people in my business and assistants to having people in my business and systems people and an assistant. So, you know, it's never a one and done philosophy. And I think you're setting yourself up for a lot of mindset drama if you think the first VA you hire is the last VA you hire.
Or that the first system you implement is the last system you're going to implement. Or that
exactly.
It's all just this beautiful work in progress. I would say that too for people who are kind of newer to launching than you are, is like, don't expect to be Tash level when you're first starting out. Like, just first step. Yeah, cool.
And look, when it comes to having a team support you with a launch, you're going to have direct return on investment for that investment, right? So if you're bringing in someone, you're paying $1,000 to have them support you in your launch, and the product you're selling is $1,000, you only need to make one more sale to get your money back from that investment. And I find it really weird that people under-invest in getting support with their launches. I sent someone to you, actually, who she had invested $8,500 on Facebook ads. She'd invested $2,000 on an ads manager. She'd invested $2,000 on a launch manager. And she was like, I said, like, well, you know, what's going on with your launching? And she's like, well, I just can't seem to stop worrying about everything. I was like, well, get a launch mindset person. She didn't even know that you existed. Like, she didn't know that there was someone who could support her with the mindset part, but she knew that the mindset part was the thing that was her undoing in her last 3 launches, because she started over worrying about things. She started adding extra pieces to the launch at the last minute because she was panicked that it wasn't going to go to plan. She was panicked that she hadn't done enough because she had I have to work hard for my launch to be successful. And she just kept sabotaging her launches. And she kept hiring tangible, practical solutions people to fix a mindset problem. And so, you know,
and there's only so much that, like, that support will help you to a certain extent, but sometimes you need the bigger stuff done. Cool. Awesome. What else do I want to ask you? Oh, I know what I want to ask you. So you introduced me actually to this kind of theme that when you're launching, there's this period of, we call it the dead zone. I don't know if you termed it that or somebody else termed it that, but I now use it. Thank you, Tash. And it's that period of, so you've started your launch and then there's an end cart close date, but then there's this period in the middle that feels like nothing's happening. How do you, like, what would your tips be to get someone through that period?
Yeah. So every time I launch, I make that period shorter. So there's no need. For example, with this planner launch, last year I had a 1-month launch and I had exactly that. We tipped in the first 2 days. I had a halfway day party to try and, like, re-energize everyone for the launch halfway through October. And I had like a tiny little blip of sales. And then I made a bunch of sales on the last day. And so when I launched this planner Kickstarter, I was like, I'm not doing a whole month. I'm just not. So I shortened it down to 17 days. And next time I might even shorten it down even further. So, because you don't need your launch to be spread out for that far. But there are some times where you'll have a bit of a dead zone. So in the takeoff launch, that was fixed for me because my Udemy course dropped right in the dead zone. So I had another launch going on, which is just crazy. I don't recommend it at all. Please don't do that. But what I will do is I will focus on, that's my value add time in my launch. So the biggest one for me is you're going and you're promoting your first lead magnet, and then you do the lead magnet, and then you're promoting your early bird. So that's a really exciting. The first part of the launch is really exciting. And then early bird is closing. So you're going to get lots of sales coming in. So you have this amazing peak. early bird closes and then boom, right? You're not making any sales. You're probably promoting your second lead magnet, but to expect people to pay full price the day after early bird and still join your launch is probably going to be a bit crazy. It's not going to happen. So, so in that time, I really focus on maximizing the value that I'm giving. So what I aim to do in that time is like really promote the second lead magnet, but also I'm showing up a bunch on social media to create connection and engagement, and like I call it the look how smart I am effect, right? So it's like, I'll just help people for free. I'm just going to answer questions. I'm just going to like give you all of my secrets. This is where that whole like living in a space of abundance and not being afraid to give away too much information comes into play. Because in that dead zone of the launch, I haven't given the second call to action yet. So my number one job is actually to connect with as many people as possible. And I really focus on that in that period of time. And yeah, I make it as short as possible. And then I use those times as really dialing up connection and value, because I know that's going to pay dividends in terms of conversion later on in the launch.
Oh, I love that so much. And like, it's one of my, I want to say mindset hacks, but it's actually bigger than that, is when you come from that place of service and helping people, it gives you that feeling of being the most resourceful ever.
Yeah.
And I love the example of one of your launches that wasn't going to plan, and you got all the way to the end of your launch and didn't get the results that you wanted. You stayed resourceful, did a bunch of Facebook Lives over the weekend, and had the best launch. It's not launch ever now because you just...
it was my best launch at the time.
Yeah.
And it's so easy if things have been slower than you would have expected at the start of a launch to assume that the overall result, the overall result of the launch is going to be lower and disappear. And I see that happen so much. So many people disappear off social media. Their emails might still come into my inbox because they were pre-scheduled, but they disappear presence-wise in that last 2 days because they assume, well, it's not really going as good as I would have hoped, so it's not going to be as great. So, and they just like justify disappearing. And it's very easy to do that. But I know for myself that when I have stuck with it and just got myself into a space of, well, even if I don't convert them in this launch, I want them to leave this launch deeply loving Tash Corbin, loving what I stand for, understanding this different style of business, and staying a really active part of my community. Then that, if that's all I achieve, then that's amazing. And that's what I did with that launch. Was I was like, well, I've got 2 days until the cart closes. And it wasn't even a cart close. I had given everyone a deadline of Friday to join to do my fast track training. And the fast track training was on the Monday. And so the deadline I'd given everyone had passed, but I didn't get anywhere near the signups that I thought I would. And I thought, well, this weekend I had set aside to answer any final questions and get last people in. Didn't have that many questions come in. So I'm just going to show up and just make everyone put this on their list for later. I'm just going to make everyone love being part of this community. I'm going to help as many people as I can over the weekend to really ramp up what we're doing inside the program in the next week. And yeah, I had like 17 people join over the weekend, which was just bizarre after the deadline. But because it wasn't a hard, and I saw, you know, in my launch review, because it wasn't a hard deadline, I'd said the first call is on Monday, so join by Friday. And a bunch of people went, I'll just join on Monday morning. That's fine.
I love the psychology of that, because I had another client who she was really resisting even having a cart close. Sorry, I got a jumper behind me. A cart close end date. Like, she didn't want to do it. She felt, I don't know, that she felt like she just wanted to offer her services and what have you. And then when she was actually talking to her potential people, they were like, when do I need to decide by? Like, they wanted her to have
give a deadline. And it doesn't need to be a fake deadline. And, you know, I do know that there are like other ways to, you know, make individualized countdown timers and all of those sort of things. There are ways to create deadlines without faking the deadline as well. So something that I do now with the takeoff launch, whenever I do a fast track call, is I have a fast track setup call, and that's the one that people need to get to. So what I previously did was I would say the fast track call is on Monday, and you need to have listened to modules 1, 2, and 3 by the time you come to that call. So you really want to join by Friday so that you've got time to listen to the 3 calls and then come to the fast track call. Now what I do is I run a fast track setup call on the Monday and say, you need to join to come. If you haven't been to the fast track setup call, you won't know what to do. So come to the fast track setup call, and that's inside the program on Monday. So make sure you join by then. And then on that call, that's when I give them their homework and say, now we're going to come together on Thursday and go through your homework. So it's just, there are other ways to create that deadline without necessarily saying, I'm going to close the cart when you don't actually close the cart. But a closed cart is a very powerful, powerful deadline for people, even if that cart is only closing for a couple of months. So this last launch that I did of the takeoff program, I did close cart because I'm doing this really intensive coaching period with my takeoff students at the moment. And so we're not taking any new students into the program for a couple of months, but even people knowing that they can join in a couple of months, but if they wanted to join, they should probably join now. I've just had that best launch ever of the takeoff program, and quite a few people have joined going, I want to start in a few weeks, but I saw that the cart was closing, so I've jumped in and joined. So yeah, cart close can be a powerful deadline. Yeah.
And I love that it's not like there's cart close that feels icky, but then there's cart close that people want, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I love when you describe the setup call for takeoff, because what you're also doing in that is ensuring that they get the most out of that fast track experience in the takeoff program. It's twofold. It's not just about you creating
a deadline. No, it is. People were more likely to finish the fast track with that fast track call. So it's made a big difference too. Yeah. Cool. Win.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. I absolutely have loved it. Before we go, I would love for you to do a bit of a promo. What have you got on at the moment? I know you've closed takeoff for the time being.
Yep. I've got my 2021 planner is the thing that I'm focused on at the moment. So this is the 2020 version. It's a complete planning system. So you get a business plan, and then you get a yearly business planning workshop with me, and then you get quarterly plan and quarterly planning workshops. So it's a whole year's worth of planning. And that's on Kickstarter. And the link for that is tashcorbin.com/planner. And I'll pop that in the comments of the Facebook Live if anyone's looking for it.
Thanks. I am listening. I just have a child literally pulling at my arm.
So cute. Hi.
Good writing, Nola. CEA. CEA. That says CEA. All right, we might close it up because I need to do some mumming. But super excited about the planner and about your most recent launch. You're an absolute inspiration to us all, and I'm so excited that I've had the opportunity to work with you and to have these really cool conversations. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. To both you and everyone who's been watching.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kim, who commented on the Facebook Live. I saw you there. Kim's another person who comes to all of my stuff. So thanks for being here, Kim.
Thanks, Kim. I've got a way to go in terms of watching the comments whilst I'm on this Zoom thing.
It's all good. Everything for practice.
Totally. Thanks so much, honey.
Thank you. Bye.